Good morning and welcome to day one of NWR's Virtual Investor Conference, Series 11. My name is Max Son and I will be your host today. We have an excellent lineup of small to mid-cap companies presenting today, with day one having a strong focus on biotechnology and medical device companies. So without further ado, let's jump into the first presentation. Aroa Biosurgery, ASX code ARX. Aroa is a soft tissue regenerative company that develops, manufactures and distributes medical and surgical products to improve healing in complex wounds and soft tissue reconstruction. Aroa has regulatory approval in 50 countries and is fully commercialised. Today we have CEO Brian Ward presenting from their New Zealand headquarters. Before we start, I remind attendees that they are encouraged to ask Q&A throughout the session, which they can do via the Q&A function in Zoom. Brian, I will now hand it over to you.
Great, thank you, Nick, and thank you to everybody for joining this presentation this morning. So I'm going to talk briefly for 15 minutes on the company and then take some questions. So just jumping straight into it. So we're a well-established soft tissue regeneration company, 6 patented product families that are commercialised now in the US, addressing a total accessible market in excess of $2.5 billion. We've just reported our full year results, and we expect those. The audited results will come in excess of $39 million. That's $37.7 million in product revenue. So over 80% growth over last year. Our product revenue last year was $22 million. So had a very strong last 12 months, despite the fact that we've had COVID in the US, our major market. So yeah, really sets us up very well for the coming 12 months. Gross margins expected to be in the range of 73 to 75%. So we expect that to come in at the top end of our guidance. All of our products are based on our Aroa ECM technology platform. So this is an extracellular matrix platform for developing regenerative devices. We have new products being developed off this platform, some line extensions, and also a completely new class of product, our dead space management platform. As Nick said, we're now approved in over 50 countries. We have distribution arrangements in place in over 20 countries now. 95% of our business is based on our US operations, so we're building out our commercial operation there. Operations in the rest of the world are through local distributors. There's a large body of clinical and scientific evidence that sits behind Aroa's products, so we now have in excess of 40 peer-reviewed publications. The technology has been widely used, so we've treated over 5 million patients with this technology, and most of those treatments have been in the United States. The company is in excess of 230 people, 50 of those are in the US, our commercial team, and then the remainder being here in Auckland, New Zealand. So in New Zealand, we have our development, manufacturing, corporate quality and regulatory team. So just briefly on the products that we have. So we're a company focused on complex wounds and soft tissue reconstruction. We have a portfolio of products for the outpatient wound centres. This includes Symphony, Endoform Antimicrobial, Endoform Natural. And then we're also in the inpatient operating room setting. So our Myriad Matrix and Myriad Morsels product are focused on soft tissue reconstruction. So predominantly for trauma, tumour removal, general surgery, and inflammatory skin conditions. And then half of our business is through our US partner for hernia and breast. And so these are the OverTex products. So all up, a TAM of in excess of $2.5 billion, and 50% of that TAM is in the Aroa products, and 50% of that TAM is in the TELA Bio products. So just to briefly summarise in terms of the evidence that sits behind our products. So we've got multiple publications and presentations at leading international conferences for each of our products, so our Endoform product, Myriad and Overtex. What we see across this portfolio of products is very similar. So it's a technology that helps rapid regrowth of new tissue. It's tolerated very well in contaminated fields and does resist infection. We get rapid formation of well-vascularized tissue. So this is important for healing. It's important for staging surgery if you're going to follow up with a split thickness graft or a flat procedure. We don't see negative inflammatory responses to this technology. So despite the fact that this tissue is derived from an animal source and purified, it's tolerated extremely well within patients and leads to this rapid tissue regeneration. Our products are also designed to reduce surgical complexity, so they are designed specifically for each of these applications, and obviously designed to overcome the limitations with existing technology within these applications. So if you think about the catalysts for Aroa over the coming 12 months, there's a number of things I think are really going to drive revenue. So, our procedures are both elective and non-elective. And so over the last 2 years in the US, hospitals have been severely impacted by the headwinds from COVID. We are seeing an improving situation now in the US where access for the sales team is improving, hospital capacity is coming back online, and the general operating environment is more conducive to growing. So, if we look back over the last 12 months, we've grown by 80%, and that's been in a very tricky market. We're now seeing that things are opening up. So we expect to deliver at least the same level of growth, if not more, certainly on an absolute dollar basis. The other thing is we switched our sales team last year. So we moved away from being in a joint venture with a company called Hydrofera to having our own fully dedicated direct sales team in the operating room. We're now seeing that sales pipeline of opportunities is maturing, and we're beginning to see conversion of a number of accounts to our Myriad products. So we're quite optimistic about the next 12 months and how sales will track. If you look at the sales team, our direct sales team, we have 29 people in the field, predominantly selling Myriad now, and we expect to add 10 to 15 additional sales reps over the coming 12 months. So, that, as well as the more mature sales pipeline and the improving environment, we think is going to lead to strong sales over the next 12 months. We also have a inside sales team focused on our Endoform business, and we expect that to sustain that Endoform business and to grow modestly. On the TeleBio side, we're seeing last year we saw strong quarter-on-quarter growth, and this year we expect that to be at least as good as last year, and probably with an improving operating environment improve. And so Tele's guidance for Overtex this year is that they expect sales growth by 36 to 53%, and we certainly think they'll deliver towards the top end of that. 24 months ago, we had a relatively narrow pipeline on the Aroa side, and subsequently we've launched Myriad Matrix, then we've launched Myriad Morsels. Symphony has been approved, so we now have a broadening product portfolio, and we're seeing these products be used alone, but we're also seeing them be used in combination. And so we think that the portfolio and the breadth of products within our portfolio is going to really help drive further adoption of our products this year. So those product synergies are definitely starting to come into play for Aroa. It allows patients to be treated in the inpatient setting, but then also for patients to be treated in the outpatient setting with the same technology. So, for example, Myriad Matrix might be used in the operating room, and then Endoform followed up in the physician's office. or even in home care. This year, we have a lot of clinical work in train. So, we set up a 300-patient registry study for Myriad. We expect to recruit into that registry 70 patients, and from that we'll have two publications which will look at rates of healing, lack of complications. So we see more clinical evidence coming down the line for Myriad. We have 10 patients recruited into a pilot study for Symphony, and we expect this to then progress on to a randomised controlled trial. We have just submitted a publication for our Nevo Dead Space Management System. It's a pilot study in a preclinical model. We expect that to be published within the next 2 to 3 months. It shows very good outcomes with that system. So that's a prelude to us submitting that product to the FDA for registration by the end of the year. We also have a study in train for venous leg ulcers for Endoform. So there's a number of clinical publications coming down the line to support a range of our products over the next 12 months. Last year we had the Health Trust GPO give us a contract for Myriad and Myriad Matrix. We've had good traction over the last 6 or so months in getting access into the Health Trust hospitals. Those accounts are advancing within the sales pipeline as well, and we see this as an opportunity that's going to help us gain momentum over the coming 12 months. In terms of pipeline products, we have some line extensions for both TELA Bio and Aroa, and they'll be commercialised through the course of the year. Our Nevo preclinical publication will come through, as I talked about earlier, and we'll have that submission into the FDA by the end of the year for the Nevo product as well. And then in addition to that, we also will continue to expand internationally. So we have 50 countries where we're approved, 23 where we have distributors appointed. Certainly over the last 2 years, sales ex-US have been slow due to COVID, but we are beginning to see this turn around as well. So we expect some good growth out of our business in the rest of the world. So I'm going to pause there, Nick, and pass it back to you for questions and answers.
Thanks, Brian. First question is, which you just kind of touched on, have you seen the change in access to hospitals since the peak of COVID, and has this had an impact on your accounts?
Yeah, so look, we've definitely seen a change over the last 2 to 3 months, and so in the last quarter particularly, we increased our number of accounts from 40 to 72. So there's been a nice uptick there. Despite limited access over the last 12 months, we've managed to grow quite strongly. So we do see that that access is going to improve, and we should be able to bring new accounts on. I think the key thing for us is we now have quite a good number of accounts, and it's driving deeper penetration within those accounts. More procedures, a higher number of surgeons in those accounts. So that's really our kind of primary focus over the next 12 months.
Can you talk about the key IP advantages versus competing offerings?
Yeah, so these biologic materials, there's a number of these materials on the market, and so they're really used to drive this regenerative healing in tissue injuries or wounds that are very difficult to heal. And so our technology is quite unique. So, and that comes down to 2 things, both the tissue source and the processing of the material. So from a tissue source perspective, the Aroa ECM has a very open porous structure, and what that means is that cells can migrate into it very quickly and lay down tissue very quickly. And so that the sort of cell kinetics within this material are very unique. The other thing about this material is that it has a high level of important biological signals for healing. So the tissue has, we've shown that it has over 150 molecules that are known to be important in healing. They're retained through the manufacturing process, and they're there within the material, in those final products. So that unique combination of those fast cell kinetics and that high level of those biological signals really makes this product stand out compared to competing products. I think, clinically what you see when you use this technology is just rapid formation of new tissue, and the quality of that tissue is really good as well. So it's highly vascularized, and that means that it can support healing.
Thanks. Does TeleBio sell any other products than Aroa's products? And how critical is Tele's success to Aroa's success?
Yeah, so TeleBio predominantly sells Aroa's products. So recently they licensed in the BlastX product from Next Science. It's a small bit, it's a tiny part of their sales. Most of their sales are focused on, the Overtex products, which are from, obviously from Aroa. In terms of, how important is Tele, they're really important. They're responsible for 50% of our business. We're both, very committed to both the hernia market and to breast reconstruction. They're a key part of our business success.
And one on sales. How successful has the shift in sales model to direct been? Do you feel this has been vindicated already? And where the majority of the sales force joining from, i.e. competitors?
Yeah, look, I think the change in sales team has been critically important for us. Before February last year, we were selling through a joint venture with Hydrofera. That was we made that move 2 or 3 years earlier when we bought back our rights from Hollister, and it was always seen as a transitory arrangement. Changing to our own direct sales force has been beneficial for a couple of reasons. I think the first reason is that we've changed the focus of that team to be on the inpatient operating room as opposed to the outpatient wound centre. So in the operating room, there's certainly you've got a much more direct opportunity to sell to the end user. So that's been positive. We have full control of the sales team, and we're able to implement our strategy without necessarily having to work with a partner. So I think that change has been fundamental to our success with Myriad. I think we're in the process of proving that out. So I think in the last 12 months we've seen strong growth with Myriad, and I think part of that comes on the back of having that new sales team. I think certainly over the next 12 months, we should prove that out even further. We think it's been the right decision. We think that it's certainly going to drive success over the next 12 months.
Thanks, Brian. That concludes the first session of NWR's Virtual Investor Conference. Please join us at 9:40 to hear from Mike Rober. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Nick, and thanks to those who joined.